Hi, my name is Ken.
And my name is Jason.
And today we're reviewing
Die Macher. So first of all, the name of the game is actually Die Macher, not Die Macher.
Oh, we butchered German names on this show so many times, I don't really think it's even relevant anymore.
Well, yeah, but this is one we actually know, so I figured we might as well try and get it right when we can.
Yeah, I suppose. Okay, so Die Macher. I'll probably bugger it up several times in the rest of the episode.
I would expect no less.
Mm-hmm.
So Die Macher was originally designed by Karl-Heinz Schmiel, and it was published by Hans im Glück in 1986.
It was actually out of print for quite a while, up until recently when a Canadian publisher by the name of Valley Games...
Valley Games, yeah.
Yeah. Valley Games actually reprinted it, which is pretty awesome.
Unfortunately, it's out of print again,
Yeah.
which is kind of unfortunate, but...
But hey, I mean, it comes and goes, and now we have these.
Mm-hmm. Die Macher is a game of German politics.
Mm-hmm. The players in this game take the role of German political parties, and they actually manipulate the votes and such by controlling the media, calling in favors, and doing general politicky things. I can't believe you're making me play this game again.
You know what? It's my turn to pick, so you got a problem with that?
No, I guess not.
All right, then. So first we're going to go over the components for Die Macher. These are the 4 boards that make up the main board. This is the national board. This is the organization board. This is one set of the player bits. So we have flat blocks, large cubes, small cubes. These are the shadow cabinet cards, contribution cards, coalition tiles, and first player tile. These are the state tiles and the state cards. These are the public opinion polls, the party platform cards, and the public opinion cards. This is the money. These are some of the miscellaneous bits. So we have the doubling tiles, the party membership payout tiles, no coalition tile, and the dice. And this is the scoring/setup pad.
So to set up Die Macher, take the 4 state boards and arrange them into a windmill pattern like such. It should be noted that the boards that have the party member payout spaces, which is the person in the square that has the times 1,000 euros box, both have to be played opposite to each other. They can't be played adjacent to each other. Next, place the remaining 2 boards, wherever you can. God knows this setup is... Anyway. Take the 3 decks of non-player cards, shuffle them up, and place them on this board on their corresponding card places. There should be 4 of these non-player card decks, and you can place them in their corresponding location on this board. Next, each player chooses a color. So you have your option between black, yellow, red, green, and pink. So naturally, I'm going to be green. Jason, are there more bits in the box?
I think I might have forgotten the green one at home.
What do you mean you forgot the green one at home?
What? It happens.
I always play green! Why did you forget pink? So I'm going to choose pink. Jason,
Really?
what color do you want to be?
I think I'll go with black.
As your soul. Anyway, so you take your crap lousy bits and you put them to the side of the table, and the other player does that too.
Thanks.
There's your bits, Jason. So, since we have to have this as a minimum 3-player game, I'm going to set up a dummy player over here, and we're going to make that yellow. Each player is dealt 5 party platform cards that are actually dealt face up. So in the setup of your party platform, though, you cannot have opposing opinions. So in this case, I cannot be for and against this issue. So the most recently drawn one is discarded. So that would be this one is discarded. In addition, you cannot have duplicates of the same opinion. You can't be for the same thing twice. When discarding cards this way, they are discarded to the bottom of the deck, and then new cards are drawn to replace them. Each player is dealt 3 party platform cards face down. They actually get to keep these in their hand. Make sure the money is set up nearby the board, And every player is dealt 25,000 euros. That's a purple, a green, and 2 yellows if you want to make it nice and simple. Place a state card in the indicated space on each of the state boards. Return the rest to the organizational board. Take the state markers and find the appropriate ones for the states you've placed on the board. When you find them, place them in the indicated space in the center of the board here. Place the remaining tiles face down on the organizational board. When these are used, they're going to be discarded to the other space. Choose one of the boards that has one of the payout spaces, and that is going to be your starting board. So we're going to start here. You're going to take 4 opinion cards, that's the one with the happy little family on the back of it, and place them out onto the board. Wow, this state really likes everything. As with the party platforms, if you get any duplicates of opinions or opposing opinions, you must discard them to the bottom of the deck, starting with the most recent ones. Luckily in this setup here, I didn't actually have to do that. Do this with the remaining boards as well. However, 1 card successively in each board is actually going to be played face down. This simply indicates that the closer you get to this location, the better idea you'll have of the opinions of that particular state. And naturally, if you get to that state and there are opposing or duplicate opinions, you discard those to the bottom of the deck as well. Place the round 1 payout tile, that will be the one with the indicated 1 on it, on the starting board. Place the 3, the 3rd turn payout token rather, on the other board. It'll be the 3rd round when you get there. The remaining one for the 5th round goes to the organizational board, like such. Take all the flat blocks from all players and place them in the following places. 1 from each player on the scoring track over here. A set of 3 on each of these boards on the 0. And finally, you place the remaining set of 3 on the 0 votes indicator on each state board. Each player receives a scoring card, on the back of which there are 2 columns. Each player must choose one of the 3 rows from each of the columns. When you choose the row on the back of your sheet here, you must then write in the corresponding state that you'd like to perform the associated action with. Now, if you can't easily recognize the German names of the states, it might be easier just to note the numbers of the states, but regardless, this is chosen in secret. There are 5 different actions you can choose on the back of this sheet. I'm just going to briefly touch on these now, because this is important to set up. Normally this is something we would cover in gameplay. Thumbs up mean that you can actually move your marker up a space in the indicated state. Balloons allow you to place the indicated number of party markers on the indicated state. So if you chose the first one from the first column, you'd be able to choose or place 6 party markers on your indicated color on the indicated state. The X simply means votes. You actually get that many votes, and you place your marker on that section. Microphones allow you to take one of your large cubes, which are the media cubes, and place it on one of the microphones on that board. And the bonus party members actually do not have an associated state. They simply actually allow you to just move your number of party members up. It should be noted that during setup here, all choices are revealed simultaneously, and all the appropriate markers and such are placed out into the board as necessary. Next, set up the exchange. 6 public opinion cards are drawn from the public opinion deck. They're placed in the exchange like such. However, unlike the other types of opinions and such throughout the game, if you actually get a duplicate card, it's actually just placed over the other card. So in this way, only ever 6 cards are drawn, but the potential for less than 6 opinions to be present is always possible. And that's it for setup! Yay! Jason, it's your turn, do gameplay! Oh wait, sorry, and now you're ready to play.
Die Macher takes place over 7 rounds. Each round consists of 3 phases, except the 7th round, which consists of only 1 phase. And the phases are in order: the election campaign, score the current state / collect money, and end of the round. Each phase has several sub-phases. At the start of the election campaign phase, players must first bid on starting player. They each write down the amount they want to bid on their scoring cards, and there's a column provided with the round numbers here. They reveal them simultaneously, and the player bidding the most must pay that amount, and then choose a player to be the starting player, but it doesn't have to be them. So next is the Party Platform Conference. Starting with the starting player and going clockwise, players first draw up to 3 policy cards in case they don't have 3 policy cards in their hand already. They may then discard as many cards as they want, drawing back up to 3, and then they can choose any one face-up policy card that they have on their board, discard it, and replace it from their hand.
The CDU will now give their thoughts on genetic modification of food.
The Christian Democratic Union is against any genetic modification of our food supply.
Very well then. D. Lincoln, what are your thoughts on genetic modification of the food supply?
Yes, Die Lincoln is actually for genetic modification.
I see. Well, this territory is actually in favor of genetic modification. What are your thoughts on this, Christian Democratic Union?
Well, it's a good thing then that the CDU is completely for and in favor of genetic modification.
What? No, you just said you were against it.
No, the CDU has always been for genetic modification.
You...
After that comes the Shadow Cabinet phase. So each player was given a deck of the Shadow Cabinet cards in their color. Each player may take this deck of cards and they can place as many Shadow Cabinet cards as they want next to whatever states they wish. And this, again, starts with the starting player and goes clockwise. After all players are done, these cards are flipped face up, and in player order, each player may choose one action from each of the cards that they have played and enact that action on the chosen state, so long as they pay the indicated amount. And these cards are actually discarded after they are used. You don't get to use them again, so each Shadow Cabinet card can only be used once during a game. Many of the Shadow Cabinet cards will have a coalition icon in the upper right-hand corner. If that is shown on one of the Shadow Cabinet cards that you have played, then you actually have to take one of your coalition tokens and place it in the coalition space on the state board that you've played that card on. Now, the options on the Shadow Cabinet cards are mostly the same as the ones that are actually on the starting setup cards on the back of the scoring sheets. There are a couple of extra ones, though, that I would like to note, and a few of them work a little bit differently. So first of all, some of them have the doubling token icon. If you choose that option, you get to take one of the doubling tiles, which is this right here, and you can place it on any of the face-up opinions on that state. And what that does is that makes that issue twice as important. So you get twice the points for matching it, or you lose twice the points for not matching it. In addition, the microphone icon does appear on these cards. It works a little bit differently, though. In this case, instead of just paying for a medium cube and placing it on the board as you do in one of the later phases, you actually have to buy off one of the opponent's cubes. So you actually have to pay them $4,000, remove their cube, and then you have to pay another $4,000 to place your cube over theirs. So it actually costs you 8,000 euros to do that. But that can be pretty advantageous, especially if you're pretty close to media control in that state. So after the Shadow Cabinet phase is done, you go to the Forming Coalitions phase. So that only occurs if there are actually more than one coalition token on the current state. So in player order, starting with the starting player, players may choose to form coalitions. So during their turn around the board, if they have at least 2 matching policies with another party, they can offer a coalition to the other party, and then they can accept or reject it. If, however, there are 3 matching issues, you can actually force the other party to join in a coalition with you. Again, this is as long as they also have a coalition tile on the current state as well. After coalitions are formed, you may buy media markers. So, again, in player order, players may choose to either purchase a media marker and place it on any open space on any board for 4,000 euros, or pass. This continues around the table continuously until all players have passed consecutively. And passing during this does not mean that you can't place a media cube later. After everyone who wants to has bought media cubes, then you start with the last state That's the one with only one face-up card. And you work backwards, and you check to see if anybody actually has what's called plurality. So that just means that they have more media cubes than anyone else in that state. If somebody has plurality in a state, then they can actually exchange any one face-up opinion card on that board with one in the exchange pool. Next, you organize party meetings. So in player order, players may purchase meeting cubes, that's the tiny little cubes, at 1,000 euros each, and they get to place them on the state boards. Now each player may only have 10 meetings in each state at a given time, and that's how many boxes there are, in case you forget. And you may only place up to 4 meetings in a given state during each turn. You also only have 18 cubes, I think it is, so you really have to plan ahead for which states you want to go after and which ones you want to kind of ignore. After everyone's bought any cubes that they want to buy, you go on to auction public opinion polls. So one public opinion poll card is drawn from the top of the deck and placed face down next to each board, like this. So then, starting with the current state, the starting player may start a bid for the poll card there, or pass. And each player in order may then either bid a higher amount or pass. Once a player is passed, they cannot re-enter the bidding. And at the end, once everyone else is out, the player bidding the most must then pay that amount, take the card, and choose whether to publish the poll. If they choose to publish the poll, they get to choose one or two of the options that are listed on the top half of the card. So these will pretty much always be somebody gaining or losing in popularity in that state. If they choose not to publish the poll, then instead they get to roll 2 dice and add that many party members to their party membership. So in many cases, you might draw a card where it's going to hurt you more than help you. So you might want to take that option. You get some extra membership in the bargain. After all of the public opinion cards are dealt with and discarded, you move on to the converting meeting markers into votes step. And this is kind of the core of the game. So you start with the last state here, and in player order, players may convert meeting cubes to votes. Now this is kind of the most complicated part of the game, so I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail here. So in order to convert meetings into votes, the first thing you have to do is you have to determine how much each meeting is worth. And this is going to involve a little bit of math. It's only addition though, so I'm sure you can handle it. Basically what you do is, first of all, you take your popularity rating in the state. So in this case, black is at +2. So to that, you add the coincidence rating, and that's how close your own platform is to the public opinions in the state. So basically, you start at the left and go to the right on the state board, and you check to see if you have a matching or opposing opinion. Now, in this case, this card on the state board is in opposition to this card in the player's platform. So because of that, he gets a -1 from that card. This card is not actually represented in his party's platform, so he gets 0 points from that card. Again, this card is opposed to a card that he actually has in his platform, so that gives him a -1. This card, however, matches one in the platform, so that gives him a +1. So in total, that's a -1. So added to the popularity, that gives a total of 1. That is how many votes each meeting cube is actually worth. So if he actually exchanged all four, he would get 4 votes. And as mentioned previously, it's possible that one of these doubling tiles will end up on one of the opinion cards. In that case, that particular opinion costs as twice the loss or twice the bonus when calculating the coincidence rating. And only one of these tiles can actually be on each state. Now at the end of that step, in the event that any player has more votes than all other players combined, they can actually exchange a face-up card in that state for an exchange card, similar to what would happen if they control the media. Alright, so after that we move on to the scoring phase. That's the second phase in the turn. I know it seems kind of odd with all these steps, but that's the way they have it organized. So the first part of this step is to convert the remaining meeting cubes in the current state into votes. So this is exactly the same as what we did before. The only reason that you might want to hold off on doing them until this step is if you think that you actually can get more votes than everyone else combined, in which case you can actually change one of the cards and make it even more in your favor. So that might be a good idea. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter if you do or you don't. After you've converted all of the meeting cubes in that state to votes, then each person actually looks at the state card, which is next to the state board, and they look up how many votes they've achieved. Next to that will be the number of seats that they have actually gained in that state. So they should immediately write that on the back of their scoring sheet in the appropriate spot. After you've determined seats, you determine the actual election winner in the current election. So obviously, the party with the most votes wins. In the event that there is a tie, however, the party who got there last wins by a nose. So for example, if yellow was already at 42, and black went later on in the turn, and they got to 42, their token would actually be placed on top. And so it's the player who is on top that wins by a nose. It should also be noted that the 50 space is actually as far as you can get. You can't get more votes than that, except if you're in a coalition, which I'll talk about in a second. But it's important, if you're starting to get up there in votes, to kind of consider that, because if somebody else is really close, you may want to hold off in converting your votes as long as you can, just to make sure that you're the last one in that space. Now, if there is a coalition, and coalitions can only exist between two players, then those two players actually get to add their votes together. And this is the only circumstance where somebody can get more than 50 votes, because if they end up with a total that's more than 50, that's their total. So next is the results of the election victory. Now, if a single player won, first of all, if they had a media cube on one of the media spots on that state board, they can actually move it to the national board on the appropriate round spot. In addition, they may also take 2 of the opinion cards from the current state and place them on the national board. And this always starts from the left and fills to the right. Now, when placing cards on the national board, there are a few things to note. First of all, there can never be 2 identical cards on different spots, nor can there be 2 cards that are in opposition to one another. If there happens to be an opposing card for one of the cards already on the national board that's on the current state, the player can actually choose to place that over that card, basically effectively changing the course of that opinion. If there's a card that is matching, which is identical to one of the cards on here, they can also choose to secure it. So you would take that card and you would actually place it on top, slightly overlapping, so that it's obvious that there are 2 cards there. This card is secured, which makes it harder to remove. So once the entire board fills up here, basically what you do when you add another card to it is you actually remove the leftmost card, shift everything over, and then place the new card at the end. The exception to that is secured cards. When a secured card gets to the end, that card is skipped over. So if this card were secured and there were a card here, you would actually remove the card here instead of this one. Secured cards can still be replaced by an opposing opinion, though. If a single player wins by a nose, they pretty much do the same thing, but they can only choose a single card to place on the national board. And in addition, the player that they beat out, so the runner-up, also gets to place a media marker. If a coalition wins, then both parties in the coalition may do each of these things once. So each of them can move a media cube over, and each of them can choose one card of the opinions and move that over to the national board. So after that's all over and done with, you get to increase party membership. So first of all, you look at your cards and you look at the national board. Now, as you can see on the national board, there are icons indicating a number of party members above each of these spaces. If you have a card that matches one of the ones on the national opinion board, then you get to add that many party members to your party, just moving this up. Next is payout election money. So each player gains 1,000 euros for each seat that they have gained during the current election. So in many cases, some of the states are not going to get you a whole lot of money regardless, whereas other states might get you quite a bit. There's one that'll actually get the winner 80 seats if they actually win, the 50 space, in which case they would get 80,000 euros. So this is one of the things that kind of alters the games, because some games there's going to be a lot of money throwing around, some games there isn't. In addition, during rounds 1, 3, and 5, and you're just reminded of this by the party membership payout tokens, that's what they're for, you actually get 1,000 euros for whatever your party membership total is. So if you currently have 17 party members, you get an additional 17,000 euros. And next is the end of round phase. So this is the final phase of the round. So first, you set up for the next round. So the current state, the one that you've just scored, is basically cleared of everything. All the cards, all the bits. You do leave the flat blocks from each player, but you move them back to the starting positions. So 0 in popularity and 0 votes. Then you actually draw the next state card. You place it next to the now empty board, and you find the corresponding state token and place it up there. You deal 4 new cards, 4 new opinion cards, 1 face up and 3 down, to that board. And every other state board has 1 more card turned face up. And again, if you have any identical or opposing opinions on the same board, then you just discard the new card and you draw a new one until you actually don't have that situation. There are a couple of special setups. They're kind of minor things, but I just want to mention them here. After round 1, you replace the round 1 payout token with the round 5 payout token. At the end of round 3, an additional card on the new state is turned face up. And I'll get to why in just 1 second here. And at the ends of round 4, 5, and 6, you remove the empty state board. So, again, there's only 7 rounds, and so those boards won't be used any longer, so you can just remove them entirely. After round 6, you actually score the final state as well. So instead of just scoring state 6, you score state 6 and 7 basically at the same time. And this is why you actually deal 2 face-up cards when you're setting up state 7, because you don't really have any campaigning going on, it's just straight up score. Next up is party contributions. So in player order, players choose one of their contribution cards. They will have 5 of them, so they'll get to play basically all of those at some point during the game. They will place it on the table, either face up or face down. Players who play them face up immediately take the amount of money indicated. Then they roll the number of dice indicated, and they lose party members equal to the highest result. So basically you're taking a contribution and you're going to lose a few party members because they're not comfortable with that. And the higher the contribution, the more likely you're going to lose more. Then any players who have played the cards face down, they actually reveal them all. They roll the indicated number of dice and they gain party members equal to the total. So this is you rejecting the contribution, and a lot of people are going to come in because they respect that. Now, the player who actually rejects the highest value out of all the cards that were rejected this turn gets to roll an additional 3 dice. However, on a tie, nobody gets the bonus. Alright, so now to ending the game. Now, the game ends immediately after the 7th state is scored. So players use their score sheets to determine their score. I'm just going to go over some of the bonuses and how that sort of works. But it's pretty much all listed on here, so if you follow through, you should be fine. First of all, you're going to get 1 point for every seat that you have gained during the game. So you're going to add those all up. Next, you're going to look and see if you have any media cubes on the national board, and you're going to get the indicated number of points for that media cube. And as you can see, it's a lot better to get media cubes up here earlier. It's worth a lot more. But then again, you do lose access to that media cube, so it's something you got to consider. Next, you get 1 point for every party member that you have, so whatever your score is on this board here. In addition, you get 10 bonus points if you had the most members, and 6 if you have the second highest number. If there happens to be a tie, then you actually divide all 16 points between all of the people who are tied. You once again also compare your party's platform to whatever opinions are on the national board, and you get whatever point value is below that card on the national board. And again, the ones that have been there the longest are actually worth the most. In the event that you actually match a secured card, you get an additional 5 bonus points. And that's pretty much it. Whoever has the highest score at the end of that wins.
So now for something I really enjoy. There's actually a variant for this game for a shorter game. Oh, I know, don't you love me? Essentially, this is for playing a 5-round game of Die Macher rather than a 7-round game. So first off, to set up a 5-round game for Die Macher, you have to take out all the cards that have the 7 icon on them. From your own player cards, there are actually 2 cards you have to remove this way. One is from the Shadow Cabinet deck, and the other one is from the Contributions deck. There are 10 cards from the Opinion Polls deck that need to be removed as well. And there's a couple other special setup details that we need to go over as well. When replacing the opinion cards on the new board, you actually deal 2 cards face down. And place the No Coalition marker, which is the coalition with an X through it, on the appropriate space on the board. This is to remind players that the 5th round is the last round and no coalitions may be formed. At the ends of round 2, 3, and 4, the boards are actually cleared off and put back to the box. Simply, they won't be used anymore because 5th round is going to be your last round here. And for your 5th round, it's obviously fairly short. After round 4, you're going right to the scoring phase. For all intents and purposes, the 5th round in this case is really no different than the 7th round in a standard size game.
Alright, so for example turns this time, we're probably only going to get 1 round in here because these rounds are pretty long.
Very long.
We'll see how it goes, but I'm not making any promises. It's probably going to be just the 1 round. There's not really a whole lot of differences between rounds anyway in this game, so just by seeing 1 round, you should be good to go. Alright, so first of all, because we didn't really do it at the end of the setup phase, we're going to fill out our setup choice cards here, and we're going to do that. So, alright, so now that we've chosen all of our options, we reveal them simultaneously, and we do basically what's ever on there. So next, we are going to bid for starting player. So each of us will secretly write down what we bid in the number 1 spot on the back of our sheet. Alright, so these are revealed simultaneously. I bid 2,000.
Yellow bids 2,000 as well. Pink bids 5,000.
Alright, well, Pink has it. So Pink has to pay 5,000 euros. And then Pink can choose who gets to go first.
The Pink Die Lincoln group has chosen that the CDUs will be going first.
Okay, well, so I put my first player token in the first player box just to remind us. And we move on to the next step, so the Party Platform Conference. Alright, so first of all we would get to draw up to 3. We already have 3 because we just started. Next, each player has the option of discarding any number of these cards and drawing to fill their hand. So I'm actually going to discard this card and draw a new one. Then the yellow player may do so, and the pink player may do so.
The yellow players can discard this one.
Okay.
Throw that at me. And then draw a new one. Die Lincoln is going to discard this and draw a new one.
Okay. And finally for this step, Each player in turn gets the option of discarding one of the cards in their current platform and replacing it with a card from their hand. I'm actually going to choose not to change any of my Party Platform cards.
The FDP is good as well. Die Lincoln, on the other hand, is going to change up for genetic modification. Now 4 genetic modification.
So next is the Shadow Cabinet step. So everyone takes their Shadow Cabinet cards, and in player order we get to choose whether we want to use any of them this turn. And just as a reminder, you can only use each of these cards once during the game, so you really want to try and, not necessarily conserve them, because, they're pretty powerful cards, but you don't want to put out 4 in one turn, for example.
The FTP is going to place 1 shadow card over here and another shadow card over here. Die Lincoln is going to play 1 shadow card over here.
Oh no! Alright, now that all of the shadow cards have actually been chosen, we flip them all over, and we actually do the stuff. So, I have to go first. I've only played 1 card, and that's going to cost me 5,000 euros for the privilege. And what I am going to do is I am going to choose the media option. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pay Kenny $4,000. He's going to remove his cube. And then I'm going to pay the bank another $4,000. And I'm going to add my cube in that spot. And that card is discarded. There is no coalition icon, so that doesn't happen. But this card is removed from the game, so I can't use this card again.
Alright, FDP. FDP is paying $1,000, or $5,000 rather, to the bank for the privilege of playing this card. And similar to Jason, I'm using the power of this card to switch out one of Jason's media cubes.
Oh noes!
With one of the yellow media cubes. Paying $4,000 to the bank and $4,000 to Jason to do so. To enact this one over here, FDP is paying $3,000 to the bank. And they are choosing to take the option to double the votes for this opinion here. Okay. Since this shadow card actually also had a coalition icon, that is actually a coalition token is placed. And then these 2 cards are actually removed from play. Finally, we have Die Lincoln. So, paying $3,000 to the bank for the privilege of playing that card. And choosing to place a doubler on Cube Tomatoes.
Oh no. So that's the end of the Shadow Cabinets phase. So next is the Form Coalitions phase. Now, in this case, there are no coalition tokens on the...
Actually, sorry, I just noticed that when they were supposed to form a coalition. My apologies.
Okay.
And this card is supposed to be removed from game.
Yeah. Alright, well, there is 1 coalition token there. However, you require 2 people for a coalition, obviously. So no coalitions can be formed. So in this case, this coalition token is pretty much just taken off again at
That's
this
fine.
point.
I just forgot to put it down there originally.
Yeah, no worries. So next up is buying media markers. So this starts with the starting player, so with me, and I can choose to buy media markers for 4,000 euros each. And I can only do 1 at a time, and this goes around the table, so people get chances to buy multiple markers if they wish. So I'm going to spend 4,000 euros, and I'm going to place another media cube in this state.
FDP is going to drop $4,000 to put a yellow media marker in this state.
Okay.
Die Lincoln is going to spend $4,000 to drop a media icon over here.
I think that's where I'm going to call it quits, so I'm going to pass at this point.
The FDP is going to have to agree with Jason. Die Lincoln, on the other hand, has plenty of money to go around. Another 4,000, drop another media cube over here.
Well, I don't really like seeing this huge block of yellow and pink supremacy over here, but I really don't want to have to spend any more money, so I'm going to pass again.
Alright, yellow passes as well. And yeah, Die Lincoln will pass now.
Alright, so that concludes the purchase media markers step. Next up is organize party meetings. So again, this goes in player order. So each of us can buy as many of the meeting markers as we want, keeping it within mind that we can only place 4 per round on each of the state boards, and there's a maximum of 10 per state board per player. So I am going to spend my remaining money to buy 12 meeting markers. I'm going to put 4 of them on the current state. I'm going to put 4 of them on this state here. And I'm going to put 4 on this state too. Alright, so FTP.
FTP is going to spend 4 to get 4 party markers over here. Alright, I'm going to spend $6,000 to get 2 here and 4 over here. And let me think. Wow. Man, that one's really heavy on that side of the board there, so I think it's about as far as I'm going to travel across the globe.
So now that it's the end of the media marker phase, we go sort of in reverse order, starting with the last state and moving backwards, and we see if anybody has plurality, and I think pretty much every state somebody has plurality. So in the final state here, Die Lincoln, they can choose to exchange one of the face-up.
This state is now 4 cube tomatoes. Yeah. FTP is going to choose to leave this state as it is. So Die Lincoln is going to change this issue.
And finally, I have plurality over here, so let's see, do I want to switch anything? Well, I think I do. I'm going to switch this for that.
Oh, let's see how it is.
So next, we auction the public opinion polls. So first of all, 1 public opinion poll is dealt to each state. So now, starting with the current state, the starting player may start bidding on the public opinion poll there. Unfortunately, the starting player does not have any currency, so he is going to choose to pass.
The FDP isn't really all that interested in that state, so they're going to pass as well. Die Lincoln has a vested interest in that state, and they're going to bid 1,000.
Well, that's quite a bargain. So, Die Lincoln gets to look at the public opinion poll, look at the top half, and they can choose either 1 or 2 to enact there in this state, or they can choose not to publish it, in which case it's just discarded, and they get to roll dice to add party members.
Okay. I am going to choose to publish this, and I'm going to choose Die Lincoln plus 2, which is going to bump me up to the top there. And CDU down 1.
Alright, moving on to the next state. Again, I still have no money, so...
The FDP is going to bide their time. Oh, look at that! Die Lincoln still has money. 1,000 euros, please. I believe that's in a public opinion poll for me.
I think this is fixed somehow.
I don't think so. I don't think that's true. I choose not to publish the results of this poll.
Alright, so the poll is actually discarded. And Kenny, you get to roll 2 dice and add that many party members to your membership.
So, I got 4.
Alright. So next we move on to the third state. I continue to have 0 money.
The FDP suddenly cares and bids 1,000.
So at this point, D. Lincoln has to either pass or bid a higher amount for the card.
I'm going to pass.
Shocking.
So in doing this, FDP is going to get bumped 2, which is actually just going to put them to the max. And that's all I'm going to be doing for that one.
Okay. And for the final state, again, I have to abstain.
FDP abstains as well. Oh, look at that. Die Lincoln still has money.
I hate you.
1,000. Oh my. Oh my, no. Nope, that ain't gonna happen. I choose to not publish the results of this poll.
But why? Because, that would get me... You could have given me 2.
Anyway, I'm rolling for party members now. 4 again.
So next, we get to convert meeting markers into votes, starting with the last state. So in this case, there are no meeting markers in the last state, so we're going to move directly on to the second last state.
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
Alright, so black has to go first anyway. So first of all, we look at the popularity rating, which is +2. Then we compare what black has as a party platform to the issues in the state. So currently there's only 2 cards showing, so it's only those 2 cards that can affect this. So first of all, he does match on this one, and he matches on this one, so that's another +2. So that means that for each cube that I choose to convert at this time, I get 4 votes. And I am going to choose to convert 4 markers. So that gets me up 16 votes. As a note, it's always a good idea if you already have 10 markers in a state to convert 4 anyway, because then you get to add 4 more the next turn. So keep that in mind.
FDP, not to be outdone. Looks like they actually might have a bit of a lead on their opponents here. So popularity is at +3. Also matches 2 of the opinions. So it means each party marker is worth 5. So converting 4 into votes is going to give FDP 20 to 26.
Alright, so next we move on to the next state, with this one here. So first of all, again, it's black that has to convert first. Popularity is at 0 there, so there's no help there. I get a -1 because I am opposing on this one. +2 because that particular issue is doubled here. And another -1 because of this, so I'm at a base of 0. Now, if you are at 0 or at a negative for this value, you still could convert them and get 1 vote per. I'm going to choose to just leave them and hope that I can improve my position in that state later on.
Die Lincoln, on the other hand, is actually in a little bit of a better position. So popularity is currently at +2, and at the moment, Die Lincoln is matching the issue that is doubled for ×2, and that is it, apparently. So total of 4. So might as well score them all. Score them if you got them. Gonna put me up to 16 from 0, which is pretty good.
Alright, and finally we move on to the current state, basically. As I noted in the gameplay footage, unless you think that you can actually get more votes than everyone else combined, there's really no point not to convert your stuff. So you might as well just do it now rather than at the next step when you have to convert them. So again, starting with me, I'm at 0 popularity. Unfortunately, I get -2 for this doubled opinion. I don't have any opinions that match or oppose this. I have +1 from here and +1 from here, which gives me a total of 0. So each of the cubes that I spend from here only give me 1 vote. Again, I might as well do that anyway. So that gives me 4 votes.
Die Lincoln, on the other hand, is currently at popularity of +3. He's 4 cube medos, so that's going to be 5. Is also for money grabbing. So that's 6. Doesn't have everything here, but this is actually at a negative, so that's -1. So it's going to give me a total of 5. I've got 8 votes. Going to turn, or 8 party members rather. The 8 party members is going to get turned into 40 votes. Where's Pop?
As a note, Kenny could have actually chosen to hold back some of his meeting markers, like exchange some of them just to get above me, in which case he would have had more votes than anyone else combined, in which case he would have actually gotten to exchange one of these just like during the media phase, but really there's no point at this point. He's going to win, but that's something to consider in your games. You have to kind of think about it might give you the edge just to win. Alright, so next we determine seats. So first of all, we each compare how many votes we got to the listing on the state card, and we get a number of seats based on that. So Kenny, you get, from your 40 votes, 32 seats. So you should mark that on the back of your score sheet. Unfortunately, the minimum number of votes that are required to get any seats is 5, and I have 4. So I do not actually gain any seats from this state, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, neither does FDP.
So next we decide the election winner in the current election. Well, I think it's pretty obvious who has won in that state.
I don't want to, boast or anything like that,
Since
but it's
when?
definitely Die Lincoln.
Yes. So Die Lincoln wins, and they don't win by a nose or anything like that. They have a straight-up win. So now they get the results of the election victory. So first of all, if they actually had any media cubes in the state, they would get to move them to the national board. Unfortunately, he does not, so he doesn't. Next, he can choose any 2 of the issues here to move up to the national board. And this will help him out by getting him extra party membership or possibly some points at the end of the game if these match his issues.
Well, I'm going to choose genetic modification, if you want to put that up there for me. And money grabbing.
Okay. So those go up like that. So next, we increase party membership. So that is based entirely on whether you have any matches up here. So we'll start with black and go around the table. So I do not match on the Cube Matos, and I don't have any cards that have the money grabbing icon.
What is the money grabbing icon?
Workers' wages.
Money grabbing it is.
So it goes around to the yellow player.
It appears FTP is actually negative on both those as well.
Alright, well, I guess the only person who actually benefits is the pink party.
Go Die Lincoln!
So, in this case, because he matches this card, he gets +1 member, and because he matches this card, he gets +2. So he goes up a total of 3. Next, we pay out election money. So, in this case, each person gets, first of all, 1,000 euros for every seat that they gained. So, me and Yellow get nothing, and Die Lincoln gets 32,000 euros.
Ah ha ha ha! All tremble and dismay! I mean, democracy. Yay.
Anyway, next up, because this has one of the party payout tokens, we also get 1,000 euros for each party member we have. So in my case, I have 9, so I get 9,000 euros for that.
FDP has 13, so they're going to get 13,000 euros. And Die Lincoln has a whopping 16, so they're going to get 16,000 euros. I wish this was real money sometimes.
So next, we set up for the next round. First of all, the current state board is cleared of all cards, which are placed in their appropriate discard piles, and we remove all of the various tokens and set our player markers back to the zeros. So next, we draw the top state card from the state deck. We place the corresponding state marker in the appropriate space. Next, 4 new public opinion cards are dealt onto the board, 1 face up and 3 face down. Then we go around the board and we actually flip over one of the cards that is face down on each of the other boards. And if this happens to conflict or match any of the other cards that are already there, that is discarded and we replace it. Now again, there are a few special rules for the ends of certain rounds. So for the end of round 1, we actually take the round 5 payout marker and we place it in the empty spot on the now empty board. Finally, we do party contributions. So each player takes their selection of 5 party contribution cards, and they can now, in turn, choose to either play one of these cards face up or face down. You do have to play a card, but you have to decide whether it's important to have the money or whether you would rather have party members at this point. So starting with the black player, I'm not doing so well for cash, so I'm kind of thinking that it might be a good idea for me to take a contribution. And you know what? Go big or go home. I'm going to take the $50,000 contribution. So that means that I immediately gain 50,000 euros. However, I have to roll 3 dice, and I have to lose the highest value in party members. So I got a 2. So I lose 2 party members because of that. Alright, so next up is yellow.
Yellow is also kind of hurting here. Yeah, gonna have to go with the 50,000 euro contribution there.
All right.
Otherwise, what am I going to do?
All right. So then yellow has to roll 3 dice.
Okay, and lose 1. That's not so bad.
Yep. And then Lincoln. I don't really think they need the cash too much.
What the hell are you talking about? I can just completely steamroll you guys in the next few elections. All right, so I'm going to choose to go with. Rather than cash, I'm going to take the contributing members. So this is going to grant me 1 die. However, because
in this case he is the only one who has actually chosen to reject an offer this turn, he thereby has the highest rejected offer, which means that he gets 3 additional dice. So he actually gets to roll a total of 4.
Yeah, doggy! Alright, 6 and 9. So total of 9 new members.
Wow. So that's it. That's basically the end of 1 round. So again, we really can't do another round at this point because it does take a long time, as you can see. But you should be able to glean the basics from this, and we'd obviously be happy to answer any questions you might have about the rules or anything. Just leave a comment on our YouTube channel or fire us off an email. So I actually really enjoy this game. I think it's very interesting. It's got a lot of interesting mechanics, and it really forces you to think ahead and sort of form a strategy. So I really like that aspect of it. In addition, it's kind of got a special distinction in that it was the first game in the Board Game Geek database.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, if you actually go to boardgamegeek.com/boardgame/1, this is the game you're going to see.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it is kind of an interesting factoid.
Yeah, it's like our online history and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
A moment in our online history. As I'm sure you can kind of tell from my general distaste in this game overall, I'm not really a big fan of this. And that's not to say that I don't think it's a good game. I actually respect the fact I can tell that this is a good game. It's just not a good game for me. And it's mostly just because, I don't know, it seems like the turns kind of go on forever. I mean, seeing our previous videos, you might think that I'm being sort of contradictory, because a lot of the games we play, the turns kind of go on forever. But in this one, I don't know, it's just like, well, for one, there's like 12 bloody phases in the
15,
game. Sorry,
actually.
15 phases.
Well, technically there are 3, but they're all split up into sub-phases. So if you count them up, though, it's 15.
I know, but the thing is that in some games where like they split up a sub-phase in the game,
yeah.
It's usually just to kind of make it easier to sort of get the flow right and stuff.
Yeah.
In this, it really feels like there's 15 steps of the game. I don't know, that's just one of the things that's always kind of bugged me with this.
Well, I can't argue with that. I mean, it definitely does take a while. I mean,
Yeah.
for a 7-round game, typically you're going to be playing for about 4 hours, maybe 3 if you've got a lot of people who really know what they're doing and can no analysis paralysis going on.
Possibly up to 5 though, if you're or more if people don't really know what they're in for.
That could happen, yeah. But
another problem I actually have with this game, and this is sort of reminiscent of the fact that the first few times we tried to play this, we kind of got to a false start and then didn't get to finish it. I remember we tried playing it at your house once, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we tried playing it at through a play by email.
Yeah.
Sort of thing and this was with other people as well. And then we actually got to play it once. Like, so the third time through, we actually got a chance to play it, if I recall. And I did enjoy it when I actually got to see it and such. But, I mean, just the game feels like when you're going into it, you have to really know what everything is worth, and you have to know what's worth making sacrifices for so early in the game. So when you're looking at round 1, you have to also be looking at round 4 and understanding everything in between those points as well. And I just found that the first few times when I tried to play this game, like, I picked it up, and I mean, as you can see from the example turns there, I did fairly well. I mean, I kind of steamrolled both the other two parties there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was playing the yellow party as well, and I probably wasn't paying as much attention to them as I probably could have, I guess. But regardless, though, I feel like the start of the game, you really have to know what you're doing immediately, and I don't know, it seems like it'd be really hard to bring new players into that. And I don't know what you could do to get around that, though. Like,
well, I mean, it's certainly a fair point on the the length of the turns. They're long.
Yeah.
And I can see where you're coming from with the 15 sub-phases, because it's kind of like almost 15 mini-games stringed together.
A little bit. I mean, I do see it. There's obviously some, like...
Yeah, well, there is definitely cohesion.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
But, it can be a little bit complicated, and even I need to, refer to the rules for the order of things and all that stuff. And, I've played it a few times now. But, it definitely does have that entry barrier for new players. It's a pretty heavy game. Plus it's, one of those games that doesn't even sound interesting.
Well, I mean, that's the case with most Euro games, though. Like, the more boring it sounds, generally, the more fun it usually is.
Yeah, because who would have thought that, farming the board game would be as fun as it is.
And it has no right to be as fun as it was.
But, I can certainly see that point. Ironically, the reason that I really love this game is kind of the reason that Kenny just said that he doesn't like it, because I like the fact that you have to kind of look ahead and, form strategies for a few rounds from then. So, that's an aspect I like.
And I agree that that's actually a really useful... It's a really fun thing, rather. Like, once you actually get the game down, it actually makes it... it does make it really interesting. And I could definitely see, like, playing through the game a few times or having, like, a group of people together that this is the game that they go to. I can definitely see that being really cool. Where, like, you're sort of... forming your strategies ahead of time, and you sort of have to guess what all the other players' strategies are as well, and all that sort of jazz. But I don't know. I feel that, like, at an entry level, this game is really, really difficult. I also wonder too. I think this is one of the first Euro style games I ever played, if I recall.
That is quite probable.
Yeah, it was either this one or Catan, and I mean, Catan's obviously very simple by comparison, even though it's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of the first Euro style games I actually ever played. I don't know if there's some sort of weird bias with that, where it's like it was just too different from other games for me, and that just got clicked in my head or something. Because again, I don't hate the game. I don't know. I just don't enjoy playing it not very much. Just kind of reminds me of Monopoly almost, in a way. Sorry.
Don't you even go there. He doesn't mean that.
I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that, Die Mocker.
Dee Mock Err.
Whatever. Alright, Die Mocker, Jason. Dee Mock Err. What do you think?
I give it a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
It's actually one of my favorite games. I kind of wish that I got to play it a little bit more, although, I do kind of realize there's quite the barrier there. It's kind of daunting for some people.
Well, and there's also, like, big games like that. It's kind of, a lot of people sort of run screaming from big games.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I'm sort of on the edge here because I don't want to feel this with personal bias. I'm going to have to say 3.5 out of 5. I'm leaning on the 3 side, but I think that's the knee-jerk response of me trying to say I don't like the game or I don't like playing the game. And I kind of want to give it a 4, but I mean, if I gave it a 4, I don't think I'd be really honest with the fact that I just don't enjoy it that much. So I think 3.5 is more than fair.
All right.
And really, it just, again, comes down to the fact that I do see it as a good game, and I definitely respect the fact that it is a very good game. I just really don't enjoy it.
All right. So that gives us a grand total of 8.5 meeples.
Again, which is pretty solid overall.
Yeah.
I mean, even with my somewhat lower mark, and I mean, you gave it a 5 out of 5, so it's like, that's how it is.
There it is.
Yeah. In the meantime, see you later and have good games.